if you look, the mean, that's the U right there. That's called a mu, by the way. If you look, the mean is 8.625. That's what, if you use the mean, and if you look at those last trades and you got like 13 to 1, do you really want to pay 8.625? Does that really seem fair to you? 8.625 when the last 5 trades were like 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 to 1. That doesn't seem fair. This is the reason for why the mean is not fair. This is the reason for why it's such a huge mathematical mystery how to determine an absolute value. Well, if you look at the FMV, which is the fair market value, the fair market value comes up with 10.64634844. Okay? Now that seems a hell of a lot better. A lot more accurate, right? Doesn't that seem like a shitload more accurate than 8.60? Doesn't that seem like more realistic? Like you see these trades and you go, okay, so it's worth about 10.46, I should think, right? So maybe, and this guy goes, come on, 11. Let's do 11, right? Because I got 12 and 13 for the last one. Let's do 11 or something, right? You see? Now that is actually a very good one, but it's important to understand the FMV, fair market value, is just one equation. There are 7 other equations that it determines, and the absolute value is a lot more difficult to compute, and I don't even want to tell you what the absolute value is, and I can't because I haven't provided enough data. There's more than just that. You need to know it's more than just the number of trades. It also is the speed of the trades. It's how frequently. It's how fast our trades. There's a shitload more that you need to know in order to get the absolute value. Okay, but the important thing is for you to understand that I have cracked this. I really have. This is going to be one of the greatest mathematical discoveries of this century. I promise you that. This is going to be one of the greatest mathematical discoveries. Okay? And it's profitable too. It's not like a lot of other math. There's a lot of math that people can learn that's not really profitable. Like, I'll give you an example. 2020 Abel Prize winner. Jesus, I said that terrible. Did you hear that? That's the language processing disorder problem. Okay, so anyways, the 2020 Abel Prize winner for combinatorics, he won for being able to determine what the probable chance of a random walk is, and he did that in 2D and 3D plane space, and he determined that you have a 100% chance of finding the exact origin that you started from if you do a random walk in 2D, but you only have a 1 in 3 chance, meaning that there's 2/3 of the chance you will literally go on forever and never find the point of origin if you take a 3D plane. Anyways, that is really important information. But that information, there's no fucking way of making any money on. Okay? This is serious motherfucking cash here. Okay? This is like crazy amount of cash. I want you to understand. Okay? Okay, so moving on. I think I said enough on that. Moving on. Okay, so expected profit forecast. Get this, lock this in. I want you to review this because this is what basically sells you on this. This is what's going to get your attention. And this is very, very important that you understand these projections here, okay? And I think these projections are very conservative. But, you're looking at, making about $500,000 in 1 month. And that's pretty good. But remember, that's split 10 ways, so you're looking at about $50,000 a month. But still, $50,000 in 1 month is really good, and that would be in month 3. That's important to understand that. But you can read all of this. This is very important. But the most important thing to understand out of this entire equation that I've put down here for my for my mathematical model, the entire equation, there are only 2 variables that you could argue that, could be different. You can't argue with anything else. You don't even have a fucking right to argue about anything else because all these figures I took from the BLS, Bureau of Labor Statistics. Okay? all of these figures I took from BLS, except for which figures? Hours of work traded and the percentage of vendors. That's it. So you see the hours of work traded, that is a projection that I have determined, and I have used some math, but it's definitely an estimate. It is not exact, okay? So I'm going off of 10 because I think that seems right. You think your average person who's working in the service sector is working, I think it's 48 and a half hours, 48 point something hours. They're working more than 40 hours a week, the average person in a service sector. But I figure they'll probably spend about 10 hours on average in the marketplace trading, and that's 10 hours of trading credits. That's not 10 hours of actually spending 10 hours on the marketplace, doing services. That's really just trading credits. They can cash those credits in any time. Remember that. So I think they're going to be trading about that much, okay? About 10 hours worth, or 40 credits. 40 credits to be exact, okay? And then the last thing is the percentage of vendors. And I have it down to 1 in 1,000, meaning that out of everybody, the entire independent service sector, everyone who has a job, basically every 1,000 people, one of them will have discovered this marketplace and be an active and be a vendor. Okay, I promise you that, one of them. Why can I expect that? Like I said earlier, there's no opportunity cost. There is nothing that hurts you from being a vendor. It's not like you're having to sacrifice your time, your effort, your location, your whatever the heck. It has nothing to do with any of that. There's zero opportunity cost for you signing up and listing your services. Okay, so that's number one. Also, it's the fact that there's too many benefits. So yeah, no opportunity cost is awesome, but when I start telling you that you can save money, like getting around federal and income tax and sales tax and all that shit, I mean that really starts becoming seriously incentivizing. Okay, I mean the money savings on this is definitely a huge motivating factor. And one more important thing to address is the expected growth, and we're going to talk about that next slide. But I want you to understand that growth expectation is primarily from word of mouth, and that's because that's actually the number one way that marketplaces grow, is from word of mouth. Generally speaking, if you have a good marketplace with a competitive advantage, that's enough for word of mouth. And I think that we have that in spades. I think that this system is not only the most convenient method, it is far more convenient to do a transaction on this marketplace than it is to do it on anything else. Amazon even. You think of Amazon, and you think of having to spend time doing price check comparisons, because you can get the same shit and somebody's got it for $30, another one's got it for $20, another one's got it, and it's the same thing, it's the same fucking model, same everything. Okay, so you gotta do price comparison checks, and then you also have to do reviews, right? You gotta do reviews. You gotta read those fucking reviews, and next thing you know, you've wasted a half hour just to get a transaction. So when I tell you that Amazon cannot compete with the ease of the marketplace, and that's the third one. The third one is the convenience and the fact that we actually provide tools to make these transactions simpler. Okay? That's really important. Nobody's doing that. Nobody's providing third party analysis. Nobody's providing any form of data on what something is worth in comparison. Nobody is doing that. So we want a system that is reliable And because the marketplace is providing this data, it is a lot more easier to trust that somebody whose credits are worth a lot more is going to be a better investment in terms of quality versus somebody, these things are going to become very, very apparent. And when you have reliability combined with ease, the fact that there's no ridiculous price comparisons or anything like that the market is actually pricing people very much compared to what they're worth, and that there's a reliability in that you've been seeing this over and over and over again. That is a very powerful marketplace that cannot be overlooked. Okay? Once you can accept those two things, that 1 in 1,000 people will be signed up, and at 10 hours, they're going to trade 10 hours. Remember, they're not working 10 hours. They're trading 10 hours of credit on average. All the other variables come in and will give you that price. Now you can tweak them yourself. You can say, well, I don't think it's 1 in 1,000. I think it's 1 in 10,000. Well, then you can figure out what we're going to make. But it's important that you understand, where the mathematical model, so that way you can understand our forecasts and projections. Okay, moving on. Okay, how the marketplace operates. Okay, a person registers for the marketplace account. Account holder then registers each services they offer. Once enough trade data is gathered, services evaluations will be provided. Okay, and again, we go into a wish list and getting match results. Okay, this would be very easy to do if we have a system that can identify inventory. Anyways, I'm just gonna keep going on. Sorry. Yes. All agreed upon trades submitted through a marketplace. That's right. All trades are governed through a judicial system. It's important that we have a judicial system. I want to implement one because I think that's also another factor that a lot of these marketplaces do not have, is they do not have a way to resolve disputes effectively. And I'd like to actually have an actual judicial system where there are rules and laws. Laws meaning things that you can't do no matter what. Rules that there are things that you can do based on exceptions, and specifically what these consequences will be. Like maybe the most sufficient punishments will be, severe punishments will be something like getting 86 from the marketplace, banned for life, that kind of thing. Okay, but I do feel like it is incredibly important we have some form of dispute system, so that way people don't have to rely upon suing people. If we can eliminate 9 out of 10 disputes from having to go to court, I feel like we have increased the overall demand and well-being of the marketplace and community as a whole. So this is really important that we have something built in like that. Okay. Okay. Vendors provide reviews of credits. Now, the review system does not affect somebody's credit worth. So you could get terrible reviews and, not have suffered any evaluation change whatsoever, because the value is coming from the marketplace data, not from reviews, which is kind of what Amazon does. And Amazon's a terrible marketplace. I think we're going to blow them out of the marketplace because their system is faulted, and the big fallacy in the reviews is that bots can basically sway anything, and that they don't have a system that can prevent that, and there isn't such thing as that because of the ever-growing sophistication of AI. But moving on, Yeah, credits can be redeemed at any notice as long as there is availability, and we're going to get into that too, because there are rules, okay, and that they must be accepted and redeemed by the vendor of origin, okay, so nobody can turn these down. Basically, there's going to be a system where vendors will be allowed to take vacation, and will have a specific amount of vacation they can take per year, and that will allow them to not have any requests for credits. So nobody can request credits. Like if you're a guitar instructor, nobody can request lessons from you, because you're on vacation. However, if you want to take a vacation immediately, the only way that you'll be able to do that is if you get approval. So then you're going to have to put in like vacation time ahead of advance and so forth, what's required and so forth. So you will need to, at this point, if there's like these exceptions or if it goes beyond vacation time, you're going to need to then start getting approval from the people who own your credits that it's all right for you to take a vacation, that they're not going to be redeeming those credits within that time period. And the third option is, which I think will become very important and will probably be a major player eventually, is going to be the fact that vendors are allowed to buy back their credits. That's right. So only a vendor is allowed to actually pay cash for credits. All transactions are done on a non-cash system. That way, we've never have any issues with the IRS and never have any reportings or anything like that. It basically makes the books incredibly easy. So, but if a vendor buys back their own credits, that's totally fine. We can definitely do that, where they can purchase their own credits at an agreed rate, but they have to get it, the person who owns the credits to agree upon. So it could be very interesting where, somebody's basically trying to buy back their time. But anyways, let's move on. The exponential growth. It is really important to understand that we expect exponential growth. What does that mean? It means every 3 months our vendor count is doubling. Okay? So if I pictured it at 1 in 1,000, which is, here's the 1/1000th figure right there, it would be plus another 1,000th, and it becomes plus another 200,000th, plus a 4,000, plus an 8,000, and it gets down. And if you can do the math right here, that's 2.5 years, and you literally have half the actual service sector signed up as vendors. So based on these calculations, it's only going to take 2.5 years to obtain half the service providers, and this is huge. This is very important to understand. Okay. Here are the mathematical operating system. I'm not even sure if I should be sharing this with you. This is incredibly important. If you can see here at the top where it says fair market value, that's the equation that I used earlier for the example, how I derived that value. This is incredibly complicated, but all of these equations, and then the formulaic system, believe it or not, is literally a page and a half. So it's one of these full pages and a half. So it's actually bigger than all of these equations. So the formula system uses these equations as variables. So we'll have like the fair market value somewhere. It's going to have like market supply somewhere. It's going to have like these equations are variables within the formula system. And it's a huge, massive formula system. So what that means is we're having a computer program that's doing far more computations than any program known to man. Yeah, I think so. I think we're getting to the point where it's doing insane amount. I mean, your average stock, your stock market, okay, and there are several different stock markets, but your average, if you were to try and say what an average stock market is and what its computations are doing, it's very minimal. Okay, it's not doing a whole lot. It's computing, what trades, the buy and sell of all these trades on the marketplace. And it's also computing, and they're called trades, I know, even though it's technically not a trade, right? It's actually it's a sale, it's a purchase. But anyways, the important part is it's calculating these transactions, right? And it's also calculating the supply and demand for these transactions. And that's pretty much what it's doing. If you look at what this has to do, I mean, the computations are well over, I don't know, I could do the math to figure that out, but let's just guess and say it's got to be way over 100 times, probably within like 1,000 times more computations, somewhere around there. That seems right. I mean, it's not worth figuring out that estimate, is it? I mean, sometimes doing the math is just not worth it, right? I mean, what am I going to gain from knowing that? But you can just tell, just looking at this, just with your brain, you can tell the amount of computations is far exceeding what a normal marketplace is doing. Okay, moving on. Okay, so now this is really important, guys, and we're coming close to the end of this business proposal here. Okay, so I really hope you guys enjoyed yourself. I thank you so much for staying with us. But this is it. We're going to wrap this up here. This is our organizational structure here. We're going to go over every individual role as to what we're looking for. Here are our administrative positions. We have the CEO role filled, but all other roles are available. So please review these. They go over the responsibilities and delegations that we talked about earlier. And if you want to apply for one of these roles, please submit a project proposal for your department, and please submit an essay in regards to your 1 year outlook for your proposal, as to exactly what the expectations and what the overall guidelines of your proposal are going to be, the requirements, the capital, the time frame, literally everything. I'm going to need a full scale project proposal from each person in these departments for the C.F.O, the C.O.O, and the C.I.O. Okay, and we also have these tentacles, okay, which we're going to be having the PR, judicial, accounting, marketplace, R&D, and legal. So if you like one of these roles and you'd like 10% of this company as a royalty on a contractual obligation that turns into equity, it converts to equity, then please submit your resume along with a project proposal, which will include an outline, some kind of a diagram chart, some kind of a formal structure where I can understand the proposal in terms of the main areas. Sorry, I'm having a difficulty again. So please submit that along with an essay, which goes over the fine details, and that will definitely suffice. Now I'm going to go over these roles here real fast, and then we will conclude this business proposal. And thank you so much for watching. Okay, so the CEO role, we already have, like I said, established. This person is there to do all the legal decisions and set strategy, laws, rules for the Octopus members, and they're responsible for doing the mathematical logistics for the operations for the actual marketplace. So the CEO role has all the voting shares, but it's important that just because the C.O.O has all the voting share rights for the legal decisions, we have contractual obligations for specific roles and responsibilities for other chief officers. Okay, now let's go over the other chief officers. Anybody else that's in an administrative role has a direct overall responsibility to a major asset in the corporation. So the C.F.O role, that's going to be somebody who is really good at inventory decisions, okay? And inventory is going to be based on credits, okay? Which credits are going to be profitable? We're going to be looking for projections from forecast marketing for specifically what credits will be sought after and which ones we should maybe let go because these credits are declining in value and so forth. There needs to be quarterly reports. There needs to be a lot of data analysis. There needs to be a lot of research into the overall historical trade transactional history for these credits. Okay, does that make sense? Sorry. Moving on, the C.O.O role. Okay, you're looking at somebody who is when you talk about strategy, you talk about tactics as the opposite of strategy, right? So when you have a strategy, okay, you have a basic outline of what it is that you're going to do, a general goal structure system. And then the tactics are basically, something has happened, something has kind of gotten in your way, and now you're going to need to make immediate changes in order to get back onto your strategic goals. Like, I'll give you an example, okay? And these definitions came from war. Okay, strategy and tactics actually come from war. It's very important that you understand these terms, okay? The strategy could be that the team needs to make it to a rendezvous point, okay? But the tactics come in play that you're getting shot at, so right now you got to take cover and you got to start returning fire. That's your tactics. Your tactics are to take cover right now and start returning fire because you're getting shot at, and you're going to take cover and return fire so that way you can oppress the enemy, so that way you can then get back to your main objective, which is getting to that rendezvous point. Okay, do you understand? Do you understand the difference between strategy and tactics? The C.O.O is doing tactics. They're not doing strategies. They're doing tactics. Okay? And it's also important to understand the difference between planning, too. Planning is when you're basically making set organizational structures for other people to understand. That's what plans are. Plans are for other people to understand. Okay? So, I have a strategy, I'm giving you the strategy, and then you're coming up with a plan of how to execute that strategy for the team. So that's pretty much what it comes down to. Okay? Strategies are very much generalized. Plans are very specific as to what exact actions from every single person is happening. Okay? It's almost always best to form a plan around a strategy. Almost always. It's almost always a fail not to. Okay? That's the reason why you have such words as strategic planning. Okay? So, the C.O.O role is very much responsible for making plans for other people. Okay? Putting together a to-do list and stuff based around the strategies that I'm giving and providing, and they're definitely coming up with tactics to change their plans based on last minute things that interfere and become issues. Does that make sense? So the C.O.O is very much responsible for the performance of the other team members, the departments, which is the Tentacles. Okay, and then the C.I.O. The C.I.O is going to be your IT person, which is definitely going to be responsible for all the IT, equipment. And more importantly, they're also responsible for the software development, and there's a lot to develop, because we're developing not only a platform,